If you start comparing the player numbers of Back 4 Blood to other similar games, then it really starts to look like a stinker. Here we have Back 4 Blood, Killing Floor and Left 4 Dead. And up here is Left 4 Dead 2. Originally, I was looking forward to Back 4 Blood, but as it turns out, the game is not as great as I hoped for, and generally that is a sentiment shared by the majority of players, even if sometimes a bit influenced by outside forces, to be fair. I bought the game out of curiosity and of course professional interest, as I originally planned to do a review of it, which I didn't until now because I kind of lost interest to a point where I just got bored. But all of our Patreon supporters voted, so here we go. After playing through the entire campaign and the PvP mode, I can say that yes, they have created a functioning game, playable and even somewhat enjoyable from time to time. Those enjoyable moments are then again largely overshadowed by bad design decisions. Back 4 Blood is completely missing my expectations. If Back 4 Blood was a rocket I ordered fired at the enemy, then they clearly hit the enemy somewhere, but not where I wanted them to.
We treat the infected horde as a major character in Left 4 Dead and spend a lot of effort in making their movements believable. The common hordes stagger around, cough, vomit, fight amongst themselves, lean against walls, sit on the ground, and lie down as part of their wandering behaviors.
Especially after Cropcat's video, Back 4 Blood proves Valve carried Left 4 Dead came out, a lot of the criticism of Back 4 Blood has been made with just referring to the inferiorities compared to Left 4 Dead. And it is a rightful comparison to make, but a game should also be criticized on its own merits. And when we do that, we come to the conclusion that the game still sucks.
I haven't seen this many written since the collapse. Shit, maybe not even then.
Doesn't matter right now.
Many of the opinions of the game I've read so far point out that the game is bad and worse than Left 4 Dead, but they don't really tell me why Back 4 Blood is bad outside of the things that Left 4 Dead did better, because there are some distinct things that are in Back 4 Blood but are not in Left 4 Dead. And those things are just not great either, and I'm here to point that out today. As mentioned before, this video topic was chosen by our supporters on Patreon. These fine folks help to keep the lights on here, and of course, they got to see this video well before anyone else. If you would like to support us as well, check the link to our Patreon in the video description down below. And now to the topic at hand. The first problem Back 4 Blood got itself into was the marketing. It was marketed as Left 4 Dead 3. They never said it themselves, but enough outlets did that. And Turtle Rock Studios never told them to stop, and the phrase "from the creators of Left 4 Dead" was everywhere. So the connection was drawn. And if you go into the game with the idea that this will be essentially Left 4 Dead 3, then you are running straight into a hard wall of disappointment. They were banking on the brand recognition of Left 4 Dead, and that was a little deceptive, because the game isn't quite that. In Left 4 Dead, the cause of the zombification is clouded in more mystique. It's a mysterious disease, and the story is told through hints, drawings on the walls and short conversations. Back 4 Blood is a bit more on the nose. The zombies, here called ridden, are befallen by some sort of parasite. It causes mutations and infestations not only to humans, but also forming huge accumulations of biomass, so-called nests in which the mutants apparently grow. These nests are often objectives which need to be destroyed by the players. While the world of Left 4 Dead is in total disarray and is just in the beginning stages of the zombie apocalypse, the world in Back 4 Blood is a bit more organized. The main characters are part of a group that is well organized and lives in a fortified structure. They are part of a team of the so-called cleaners, people tasked with going out and destroying infested areas. They are not merely survivors as in Left 4 Dead. In Back 4 Blood, there are entire communities that have been built after the zombie apocalypse.
Look, I get it. No, you don't. Okay, we're surviving here. Rebuilding.
Surviving's not enough. We've got to fight.
Now, we don't need to do anything. All right, when was the last time you saw Ridden in any numbers?
This is of course not the moment when all the monsters start to show up, because that would be lazy writing. In the storyline of Back 4 Blood, the masses of zombies that start appearing and are now overwhelming these communities are something unusual, as they ridden had almost disappeared. The entire background story revolves more around fighting back instead of merely surviving. A bit more of an empowering tone compared to Left 4 Dead. But it also takes away a bit from the darkness and seriousness of the Left 4 Dead franchise. Back 4 Blood is deliberately silly on occasions, a tonal diversion from Left 4 Dead that might further alienate older fans. The zombies, or ridden, in Back 4 Blood come in various shapes and especially sizes. These special monsters come with glowing weak spots you have to hit in order to do critical damage, and here is where the issues begin. Some of these special infected eat up so much ammo it's ridiculous. On medium difficulty, this boomer equivalent eats up an entire magazine. And that's the case with many of the ridden, so you definitely have to aim for weak spots. But despite of that, larger opponents still remain bullet sponges, even with the weak spots. And because they eat so much lead, you have ammo laying around everywhere in the levels. If they had less bullet spongy enemies, they would not need to litter every level with ammunition boxes and zombies that spawn ammunition upon dying. It just takes me a bit out of the immersion. Why are so many zombies carrying around ammunition? That is silly. But even sillier than the entire world being littered with ammunition and zombies dropping ammo are literal loot boxes at every corner. Every 30 seconds your team stops and opens a crate with weapons, ammo, upgrades or utility items. I get that this is supposed to be in the United States and you guys do have a lot of arms, but this many? Everywhere? After the world ended? Come on. The overabundance of guns and ammo, even on higher difficulty, is just ridiculous. You are constantly scavenging for ammo and equipment, to an extent that just overtakes Left 4 Dead 2 or 3 times. Yes, there was scavenging in those games, but here you are constantly looking for ammo and other equipment. And in addition to all that, you have a vendor system. For the vendor, you need money. Imagine Left 4 Dead, but with the trader from Killing Floor at every safe house. But unlike Killing Floor, you don't get cash for killing zombies, no, you have to once again scavenge. But this time for money, or copper as it's called in Back 4 Blood. This copper is spread around levels, so you have to keep looking in every nook and cranny, often grinding gameplay to a halt because someone has to go back for some money they saw 5 houses down the street. The looting feels out of place in a game like this. And then there are of course the upgrade cards that just increase the amount of loot you can find, enlarging the issue even more. Talking about scavenging and loot, just like in every free-to-play Asia grinder, and that's an important keyword we are coming back to later, just like in every Asia grinder or RPG, you got different quality settings of your guns or equipment. You don't just got an M16, no, you got a rare M16 or an EPIC M16. This is cool for looter shooters or games like World of Warcraft where you have different standards of equipment. But unlike in those games, you don't keep your equipment, you lose it at the end of each chapter. It's utterly inconsequential to the gameplay, because you need to change your weapons rather often, because of all the lead you need to pump into your opponents. So what is the point of finding epic loot when you have to throw it away 10 minutes after finding it, just because you found a different gun for which you just have more ammunition? In addition to the epic guns, you can also find epic and sometimes not so epic attachments. Better magazines, stocks, laser pointers and barrels, and of course sights, the latter ones being the most noticeable of those attachments. And of course you can't keep them at the end of the chapter, and also you cannot freely dismount and mount them to different guns. Let's say you have a submachine gun with a sniper scope, and your friend has an M1A with a red dot. It would make sense to switch optics, wouldn't it not? But you can't. Maybe you can each buy a new sight for yourself at the next trader. This is only a minor point compared to the balancing issues. The bullet spongy enemies are just annoying, yes. What makes them even worse is the bad AI. You can reliably outsmart them in the easiest ways. Standing on a railing confuses this guy. The biggest monsters get overwhelmed by flimsy wooden structures, or just anything that gives you a little shelter. Even the weird Vor monster that just eats you whole, if the game isn't bugging out, is outpaced by this pier. And this isn't a once-in-a-million bug, it's reliably reproducible. On the other hand, the monsters in Left 4 Dead were a reliable threat, especially in conjunction with the environment and not despite it, as in Back 4 Blood. Here we are getting thrown off the roof, and the whole team is gone within 30 seconds.
Yeah, true, but...
Tank!
Oh no.
Oh, fuck!
No. Oh no, me too. No.
And the tank fell down. The big monsters in Back 4 Blood do have some means of attacking you when you are hidden. They can reach into doorways and pull you out, or throw stuff. Usually they just grab an NPC, like this guy here. He's being grabbed over and over again. The dim-witted AI is more of a burden than help. If they are not just grabbed or eaten, they are just standing around, reacting in slow motion, not assisting in mission objectives or just not helping at all when you are dangling over a ledge. For real enjoyment, it is necessary to play Back 4 Blood with friends, because the bots are utterly useless and pale in comparison to Left 4 Dead's decade-old bots. Playing online with random players is possible, but in a game that heavily relies on team coordination, it's a gamble whether you get useful teammates or not. The only part of the game where playing with randoms is fine is the PvP mode, in which 4 players fight against 4 player-controlled special ridden in small arenas. They switch sides and whoever lives the longest as humans wins. Not bad, kind of fun for a short while, but not as interesting as the full versus campaign in Left 4 Dead. To properly play the campaign, you need to find people who know how to coordinate. It's no good if you all use the same caliber guns, for example. You would just end up taking away each other's ammunition. So it makes sense if someone has a large caliber rifle, one has something with 5.56 and the other one uses a pump gun. Further adding to the coordination aspect, there are different characters which come with special abilities, so it makes sense to have someone choose a healer, someone chooses a supporter, and so on. These characters are essentially classes, which can be modified visually and with the game card system. Visual customization is done by unlocking stuff with in-game points. With these you can unlock ugly weapon skins and different clothing for your player model, which are largely reskins of standard outfits, though the Mad Max style does look kind of cool. A proper character creator doesn't exist. If so, the game would be even sillier and quirkier as it already is, but hey, I could do this instead of this. The game already has the hallmarks of an Asia grinder, so why not? On the other hand, then I could also build myself a Left 4 Dead style Francis-esque fox. Now wouldn't that be swell? Customization that actually impacts the gameplay is largely done via card decks. The cards need to be unlocked just like the cosmetics and are then put into different decks you can choose for your runs. These cards are then drawn randomly during the game. Just like the players, the zombies also draw random cards, and these affect the weather or the zombies themselves, like giving them armor, for example. A lot of people have worries about this card system, but it's not even the worst thing I've seen. It's nice to mix up the gameplay. Then again, these card decks are unusual when you're expecting Left 4 Dead, and are something that Left 4 Dead tried and kind of kicked out. Most of the cards that affect the players are essentially an upgrade system for faster aim, bigger magazine sizes, and so on. These upgrades become important in higher difficulty modes as the game can get really tough and you die quickly. It is curious that Left 4 Dead didn't need this gimmick and they threw the idea out. There are Left 4 Dead mods that re-enable such upgrade systems, just like the cards in Back 4 Blood, and they randomly distribute them amongst the players. 75 round magazines, fast reloads, more health. That can be useful, but it looks kind of dumb.
I'm reloading so much faster, what the fuck?
Oh, do you have the right card? Back 4 Blood reintroduces several cut ideas from Left 4 Dead. for better or for worse. You got this annoying guy, for example. Upon noticing you, it just screams and calls in a horde. Let's see what the Left 4 Dead developers had to say about it, because a similar thing used to exist in Left 4 Dead.
The Screamer was a boss zombie who didn't have any actual attacks. He was bound in a straitjacket. You knew when he was around because of his crazed, maniacal cackling. The trick to the Screamer was that if he saw you, you had a moment to kill him before he ran away. And once the Screamer got away from the survivors to a hiding place, he would emit a loud, howling scream that would cause a huge mob of zombies to attack the survivors. While there were several exciting moments of knowing you had to chase him down to shoot him before he screamed, dodging zombies all the way, ultimately it proved too confusing for the survivors to discover how he worked or even to reliably notice him in the crowd. He was cut, and his horde drawing attack eventually evolved into the boomer attack.
They cut it for a reason. These things are just annoying. Talking about annoying, the special infected are so numerous that they aren't special anymore. A hunter or a tank used to be an event. Now you are getting swamped by special monsters and it's just overwhelmingly annoying. And I'm using that word a lot here. Annoying is kind of a theme with Back 4 Blood. The highly linear levels are overall fine and some ideas are unique and I like them. Like the sometimes tricky environments which are to be expected in such a game. Occasionally you have certain special events, like fighting in a bar while music is blasting to attract more zombies. Or fortifying a safe house to stop the ridden from coming in. But these are just 1 or 2 time affairs, which is sad because these are some of the most fun moments in the game. Yes, less serious as Left 4 Dead, but fun. The gameplay section I was about to show you uses copyrighted music, so unfortunately the first upload got claimed. Naively I assumed they had special music written for the game, but apparently it's just a song by The Hives. To convey my sentiment, I will now quote the German band Kraftklub and their song Scheiß in die Disco. A translation is on screen. Wir sehen aus wie die Hives? Ach, ich scheiß auf die Hives. Ich nehme dem DJ die Platte weg und ich scheiß auf die Hives. One big thing that features into the map design are classes of stationary enemies. Something I have not seen mentioned in the reviews I've seen so far. The levels are littered with traps stuck to the walls that are hidden around corners, and from these wall-mounted pods, zombies are jumping at you with staggering speed. They often caught me off guard and they keep you alert. And then there are other enemies of this kind that Turtle Rock Studios seems to really like. Stationary bosses, and this is where we get into the Asia grinder territory mentioned before. This stuff, shooting tentacles that come out of the ground, or a giant monster that just sits there in the wall and goes through various attack patterns, and you dumping magazine after magazine into it. Is this really needed? Is this the Left 4 Dead feeling that I've been promised? No, not really. And you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember Counter-Strike Online and Counter-Strike Online 2? Yeah, these are the Asia grinders I meant. Why? This is just lame. And this is one of the big things that ruined the game for me, because these sections are just boring. You just stand there, keep your distance and dump magazine after magazine into these enemies. This is one aspect that ruins the game for me. Lumbering behemoths that walk around slowly and you just dump ammunition into them. That's annoying. But these things as stationary enemies? As the big bosses? No, thank you. I can do without. Just, that's not for me. Maybe you like it, but I don't. That's not what I want out of a game like this. And yes, there are some things that Back 4 Blood did nicely, even better than Left 4 Dead. I like the fact that you, for example, can move around the minigun. That's cool. I also like that you can set up tiny defensive perimeters with razor wire. But that just pales in comparison to the flaws. You also have absolute redundancies like this Fort Hope hub world you spawn into. You can go to the different stations with the traders. But they're absolutely redundant. You can just do everything from one menu. Okay, you can test out the weapons and then? The world is lifeless. These people are just standing around. You can even set them alight. and they don't care. Sitting in a blazing fire while reminiscing about some loot they heard of a few towns over. The visuals of this game usually are fairly okay, apart from the occasional blurry texture. It's not top of the line, but also not ugly to look at. This counts for the world only. The character models are usually rather ugly. Some of them look like as if they are made of plastic. They even reflect like plastic. In zombie splatter games, the gore might be one of the most important visual aspects. And I'm sorry to say, Back 4 Blood is just way behind Left 4 Dead. The gore just looks so much more satisfying here. Be it with a chainsaw or ripping the zombies apart with an M16. And talking about the chainsaw, close combat looks more involved in Left 4 Dead than in Back 4 Blood. You just swing the bat, boom boom, done. It's boring. Back 4 Blood's kill blow for me, the biggest missing feature, the biggest flaw, that with its absence hurts the replayability of this game so much that it just breaks the deal for me, the lack of a level editor. No modding tools, no workshop integration despite being on Steam. The developers just outright say it's a closed system. No community-made content in sight, meaning they want to make sure that you have to buy future levels. If we had custom content in Back 4 Blood, not only would the Weird Fox outfit and also the original Francis be already a thing, probably, but also, imagine fan recreations of original Left 4 Dead campaigns in Back 4 Blood. That would be pretty cool and something that would definitely happen. Because porting stuff from Source to Unreal, that's pretty easy. I mean, just check out the Steam Workshop for Left 4 Dead. Would you like to see the Ford Transit van from Modern Warfare 2019 in Left 4 Dead? Well, there you go. The workshop is full of weird and creative stuff. Some boring, some super interesting. That's the beauty of community content. It's so vast. The game runs on the Unreal Engine. This is one of the best engines for modding. There are tons of tutorials for it and it's super easy to learn. And while replaying a community-created Left 4 Dead campaign, after I played through Back 4 Blood, I realized how much better the original is. It's simpler, yes, but better. Yet despite its simplicity, it just has some features I don't want to miss. Another thing that I found slightly annoying about Back 4 Blood, you can't turn on your flashlight whenever you want.
Yeah, it's automatic, yeah.
That is super annoying.
Yeah.
I want control over my fucking flashlight.
A lot of games do this now.
So, in conclusion, it seems like this game is unfortunately a flop. It is hard to imagine them turning this ship around now. This was never going to be a mainstream game, and currently they are almost beating Battlefield 2042, but that's not saying much. The player count is dwindling. If you start comparing the player numbers of Back 4 Blood to other similar games, then it really starts to look like a stinker. Here we have Back 4 Blood, Killing Floor and Left 4 Dead. And up here is Left 4 Dead 2, and that's just brutal competition. My worries from last year's video still stand. I fear the implementation of microtransactions coming, and sooner or later the dwindling fanbase will let this game slowly starve. Maybe they will try a free-to-play revival, just like they did with Evolve. It is hard to say many positive things about this game. Yeah, it's fun to play with friends, but basically everything is fun to play with friends. I really wanted to like Back 4 Blood, but I just can't get excited about it. I would say stick to Left 4 Dead. Download a few custom campaigns for the original, just enjoy the simpler but better game. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, you know what I would like you to do. Give the video a like, consider subscribing for future content, and if you absolutely love what we do, why not join our supporters on Patreon? These fine folks are Lone Wolf, Zat Gladys, Wrapped in Glass, Cookie, Uncle DG, Harrison Stephens, Plasma, Tome, Rainbow Flash, Gris Lewer, Strange Module, Cop Fighter, Inter, Charles Surratt, Sir K, and Ram Gilama. And also newly welcoming to the club, Zane. She has been a subscriber to ESCalation for a long time and is also the one who ported the Modern Warfare van to Left 4 Dead. The workshop link is in the video description, just in case you want to check that out for yourself. It's right beside our social media stuff. See you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.